Hello, and welcome to Book 6, Chapter 5 of You Should Be Reading. Today I would like to talk about The Stranger Times by C.K. McDonald. Now, this is a book that I picked up. The title cover had an interesting little design on it. The bottle with The Stranger Times, and like, what if the weird news is the real news written on it. And I flipped it over to the back. Seemed to be set in Manchester, the UK, and kind of an urban fantasy. But there was some testimonials that likened it to Terry Pratchett's work. And being a fan of Terry Pratchett's work, I decided to give this one a try. And I am glad I did. It is a fantastic, uh, comedic urban fantasy, if you will. Things never quite get to the point where it seems like everything is going down this deep, dark path, at least according to the first book. I've only read that one. There are other ones in the series that I'm going to be picking up and reading as well. But this one at least doesn't seem to get too dark. It definitely does get a bit dark, but not too dark. And I quite enjoyed it. Um, so right now, right off the bat, I'm going to give you a recommendation because if you like Terry Pratchett stuff, uh, if you like British writers, I'm pretty sure C.K. McDonald is a British writer, and if you like that slightly dry uh, style of humor, then this may be a book that you will enjoy. Now, that being said, the genres for this particular book are listed as, fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy, mystery, humor, uh, horror, and the paranormal. And those all fit. Now, the book is about a young woman named Hannah. Hannah Willis, I believe. Yes. Who is divorced from or separated from her rich husband and is now looking for a new job, but wants a job that is like, something she can do herself. She wants to take care of herself. And after failing to get a job at a department store, even though she kind of had an in to do it, she still failed to get it. She ends up on the going to this other job interview she had planned this day and just never canceled at the Stranger Times, where she becomes the assistant editor to the paper. And it is a paper. It's very small paper, like a handful of pages. That's about it. And they do stories on weird things out in the real world. Um, the editor, the actual person that runs the paper, is drunk and very foul tempered and just doesn't seem to like anybody. Always is giving everybody around him shit. Can't seem to have a compliment for anybody to save his life. There's a wonderful, very religious uh, older woman who is working as a receptionist there. There's a young girl, definitely underage, with dyed hair, who seems to be very technologically savvy, uh, that is kind of working there, maybe like an intern, um, as well as a pair of writers, one of whom, when she shows up, is on the ledge of the building, going to jump off, and nobody seems concerned. And you find out he basically does that every Monday. Like, it's a thing. It's a whole cast of characters, all quirky and odd in their own way, but they work together. And you get to know these characters over the course of the book and the happenings going on, because there are happenings going on. And it ends up coming to a head when a young man, I won't spoil, I'm not going to spoil that. It comes to a head when there is a revelation that perhaps some of the things that they are reporting on are actually true. Some of these weird things that they are reporting on have some basis in fact, and it leads them on this journey where they end up finding this out. But they also find out that there is a police officer, an inspector, who seems to be getting all of the weird cases now, and he gets on their case because there's a connection to the paper, and it all kind of boils from there. This is a very rough sort of uh, summary of events without too much spoilers, because I think this particular novel is one best experienced mostly blind. It is quite well written. There is definite empathy and pathos uh, in a lot of the characters. There is a wonderful sort of humor, very dark humor, black humor, one could say, with some of it. And it's really, as a first delve into the universe that this novel is taking place in, this is a good place to be. This novel is a good start, a good first dip into the waters, because it lets you get in without complicating things too much. It fills in the spaces that are needed to be filled in without going too overboard and making things too complicated right off the bat. I quite enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. Once I started reading, I found myself wanting to read more of it, uh, and get to the next section to find out what happens next, what happens next. And that's always a sign of a good book, when it gets you pulled in like that. There is, I believe, at least two more novels out in this series and a fourth one coming, I believe. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. So yeah, The Stranger Times is one that I think might occupy a prime space on my bookshelves in the future. And this particular series, I'm not sure what the series is called, but I will look into that. However, that's going to be pretty much it for this episode of You Should Be Reading. Thank you all so much for joining me. As always, if you like what I'm doing here, please uh, give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when new videos go up. And feel free to drop a comment down in the section below. Let me know any books that you think I should be reading, any books that are in this particular area of genre and whatnot. I'm always in the lookout for more fantasy and urban fantasy novels. So give me a suggestion there down in the comments below. And don't forget to stay safe out there, hydrate, take your meds, and all that good stuff. And until next time, remember, you should be reading The Stranger Times by C.K. McDonald. And I'll see you next time.